right, here. Why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm going to pass it off to Steve. Our webinar today is Designing Smarter, Avoiding the 5 Mistakes That Ruin Luxury Kitchens. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot of good stuff here from Steve. And Steve, take it away.
I read your comments, and what I'm doing is I'm going to show you a lot of bad stuff. The first part is bad pictures, and then we're going to talk about the 5 mistakes you don't want to make. I'm going to talk about how to lay out a kitchen for you, not for your neighbor. And then we're going to go through some high-end lines because that's where all the questions are. So with that in mind, let's get going. Let's look at this kitchen here. I like it because it isn't all white. It's white and brown, but you're looking at probably $35,000 of appliances here. Subzero French door on the right, you get a beverage center, the range in the middle in the island, and then your double oven. Right? Anyone see a problem with this just yet? Okay, how about this one? This is a thermidor kitchen. You can tell by the dispenser on the left-hand side in the middle there. Really nicely done from a lighting standpoint. We're going to talk about lighting. They got the little point of use sink on the left-hand side. We'll talk about point of use appliances a little bit later as well. Same problem here. Probably don't know it just yet, so I'll make this one a little bit more apparent. Look at this, right? First of all, there's no lighting in this kitchen other than the light they have in the back to film a pro range with an over-the-range microwave over it, right? Problem is with an over-the-range microwave, it's 16 inches deep. That pro range has got two 15,000 BTU burners, and that's light for a pro range. You know, Blue Star's 25,000, so that's not going to vent. And what happens when it doesn't vent? All that heat, smoke, and grease stay in your kitchen along with potential harmful compounds, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, formaldehyde. Who would have thought from just a stove? And then, you know, your energy efficient buildings, energy efficient building materials, keep it in there. So not the most healthy, but it's a little bit better than not having a vent and not having a vent here, or even a downdraft. You know, we cover ventilation and other, but a downdraft is a vent that's put behind. And you're cooking, I would imagine, on the front left or front right hand burners. So it's going to take all that heat from the back and from the front, transfer in the back, force it down through a long vent run with an elbow, which shouldn't be done. So venting something we're going to be covering. All right. Now let's look at this is really a well-designed kitchen from a lighting, appliance standpoint. This is an AGA range. And I put this in particularly for the hood, because the hood you can customize the height. So if you're at a brownstone in Boston with a shorter ceiling, you can cut the height, or you can customize the height to whatever you want versus just the width. Not a big fan of the open shelves next to a range, but this is a really well done kitchen. And if all you've heard in the last is the brands that I've been talking about, Thermidor Wolf and AGA, well, there is no one best brand. And for that, we're going to talk about that a little bit later, because really what you should be asking, rather than going into an appliance store and saying, what's the best range? Let's look at stuff that fits your lifestyle. We'll talk about that in the last part of the presentation. And let's not forget that all this stuff needs to be delivered, serviced, and installed properly afterwards. So with that in mind, let's get into the 5. Here are the 5 mistakes. Number 1, the first 2 are the killers. Hiring the wrong people. I've renovated 2 apartments in a house. We built 5 Yales in 10 years. We built a distribution center. And really, the good versus the not so good to the out and out horrible have to do with people. You have to find the right people to do your house. And I would say, like, going back to Boston, you know, we had brownstones in Boston. I'd find the person that's done brownstones. And for that, I have incredible amounts of questions. I've got these. If you need more, you can email me directly. I'll be happy to give you as many as you need. But it's very important that you vet the process with you. If you would go on the job sites, talk to the people. This is really crucial for you to get the work done properly, is to hire the right people, even for the right type of, I'd go right down to the particular construction. And then once you hire the firm, you continue that process with the person that's managing your renovation. That's really important. Number two is you. Not knowing what you want is going to cost you a lot of money and time. And unfortunately, if you don't pick the stuff out and the electrician's supposed to be there and there's no lighting fixtures, or the plumber's supposed to be there and the toilets aren't there on time, it's going to throw your renovation completely, the scheduling completely off. So for the kitchen specifically is these are the questions you want to ask, and you don't have to write any of this down because we're going to send the PowerPoint, all the questions and the audio to you directly. But really, how big is the space? What do you do in that space? What are you trying to highlight? Where are the windows? And that's really what you want to flesh out in terms of layout, in terms of product. I want to give you like an example. This is my bathroom in my house. I spent months thinking about everything in this bathroom because the tub had to match the vessels, right? I walk in there and I don't even notice. And really the difference between two good choices, the one that's available and the one that's not, go with the one that's available. Second, we used to be in the lighting business. This is for bathroom lighting. You want to take a look at this picture. To put on makeup or shave properly, you want to illuminate both sides of the mirror. Hang sconces are about 65 to 67 inches. Mistake number 3 is poor layout choices. I couldn't believe, there's no shortage of bad, well-publicized pictures on the internet, and this is one of them. I thought this was like a showroom, but I don't know any showrooms that have pools on the left-hand side. And the problem is they've spent huge amounts of money in this kitchen. These are European cabinets. That's Gaggenau. You're looking at Gaggenau single oven, speed oven, steam oven, refrigerator. That's the wine cooler, cooktop. That's probably $40,000 to $50,000 of appliances. Another $100,000 of the cabinets. That's customized LED lighting over it. And can you imagine just cooking in this? You're cooking, and just think of you're cooking in one area, trying to get to the sink. The flow is completely wrong. And so what is the right flow? How do you design a kitchen that's right for you? Well, that all depends on who you talk to. For me, I believe with the National Kitchen Bath, their standards are what we old timers affectionately call the kitchen triangle, meaning centralizing the stuff that you need right away, which is the cooktop, stirring something. The sink is where you are the most of the time in your kitchen, and then your dishwasher right next to it. So if we was to take a look, and on the right-hand side, this is Mark Tobin. We've done some webinars together. I think he's the best designer on the internet. He has his own YouTube channel, Mark Tobin Kitchen Design. He differs from me in we both believe start at the sink, but he thinks of zones of usage, meaning design a kitchen that's right for you. And I'm going to combine both of these in the next section to give you an idea of how to design a kitchen for yourself, right? But here's how the kitchen triangle works, right? We look at this is a Fisher Paykel kitchen, induction range. There's the wood hood over it. This is the farm sink across, and then the dishwasher right next to it. Note where the refrigerator is in the back left, and then the microwave is not centralized right next to it. So this is what it looks like. Okay. Mistake number 4 is poor venting. You look at this picture. This is beautiful. Look at the black matching you've got the wood tones, the black tones. You've got the marble with the hood, which is only 12 inches deep, even though the stove top is 23 inches. So all that stuff's going to be in this beautiful kitchen. So how do you vent, right? You don't need to buy one of these, but this is a good example of how to vent. You want something that covers your front burners at roughly 23 inches. Proper CFM depends on how you cook. Like induction, you can get away with 400. Reason I say 400, after 400, the state of Massachusetts triggers makeup air laws. And we have different videos and webinars that cover makeup laws. So 400 for induction, all the way up to 1500 CFM. You've got a 60-inch 60-inch with a wok or grill burner in it. You would want something more powerful, right? But something's 23, and then you want to then straight up or straight back. It's exactly opposite of the downdraft example in the beginning, right? So you can do that in wood. You can get colored hoods. You can really do anything as long as you follow those parameters. The 23 inches, getting the right CFM and venting properly, and that's missing. You're going to see a lot of new products from a lot of manufacturers that are all downdraft based. So, and then the other thing, the mistake is, okay, you pick the layout, you're going to pick the appliances. There's so much more. The easy part is buying appliances. The hard part is what happens afterwards. Delivering, especially talking Subzero, True, Blue Star, 800-pound refrigerators. You want people competent to deliver them. There is more service than deliveries at our company. I think especially since the pandemic, when you've got a lot of new parts and these manufacturers products break down more often than they probably ever have. And then who's installing it? And that's something you have to flesh out in the beginning. And really, when we talk about Miele, Wolf, Subzero in the end of the presentation, is which one has the best service umbrella in your area? I know we've got California, Virginia, and for that, you've got to spend some time in Google or Yelp reviews to figure that out. All right. Last one. I'm not in the lighting business. We were lighting business for 95 years. And I can make this almost as a blanket statement that you're going to light your kitchen wrong, which is amazing because lighting has become so much better and less expensive than it's ever been. LED lighting is so much better than the halogen or low voltage of 20 years ago, or even 10 or 5 years ago. And I look at this kitchen, and this is really well done. They made it look like a cave, right? You got the stone, you got the wood. I'm sure this is some sort of feng shui elements. You got top of the line appliances in there. They put the hood in right, and it's gonna light like a cave because you can't light your kitchen with decorative lighting. I don't sell lighting, by the way, but it's just amazing to me. So here's some guidelines, and I have some other webinars on how to light your kitchen. But really, put recess in. It's inexpensive, right? LED recess is inexpensive. It's powerful. It's small. And it doesn't cost a lot of money. I've said that twice. Then you want to use accent lighting. In our example there on the left, you take a look at that hutch. It's mirrored. You could put strip lighting around that, light that perfectly. Decorative is fixtures. That's the part everyone seems to get. And then ambience lighting the ceiling gives you a nice effect, right? For bathroom lighting or kitchen lighting, you want to put the lights behind you because you get shadowing. And then you want to aim in the kitchen for 25 to 3,000 degrees Kelvin. And under counter lighting is a bonus. And you can put that anywhere, inside, outside. They have a nice example of under counter lighting here. But also this kitchen, from an appliance standpoint, nice appliances, but I wouldn't put an open shelf over a professional range. That's not a good idea. And also, if you're going to put a tabletop microwave in a wall, you need a trim kit around it. But there's certain microwaves that are basically made to be put in a wall that are a little bit cleaner looking. They're looking at a trim kit. So from an appliance standpoint, they could do a little better. Lighting's not bad, right? So the other suggestions to a lot of you are renovating is put lighting everywhere. It's so cheap to do. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. It's so cheap to do. Right here, look at the stairs. This is a company called Saga Builders. They got a pretty good website. They might look at some good ideas, but use some lighting. And that's from a guy not in the lighting business. All right. So let's pick the right kitchen for you. And then we'll get into some brands. And we've got a lot of questions to answer after that. So start with the sink. Now let's look at the picture on the left of what it would be like to actually do this. And I can't believe it's done. Think about this now, putting your sink in the right-hand corner of your kitchen. What does that look like from putting pots and pans, and where's the dishwasher, and where's the stovetop? The stovetop's over there and the sink's over here. Not very easy to, you probably get your steps in, but it's not an easy configuration. One on the right, stovetop, sink. Very easy. You're going back and forth without a step, right? So we're going to start with the sink, depending on, again, kitchen triangle, zones of use, same thing. We start with the sink and we centralize it. And then cooking is central, right? We look at these pictures. Pro range is central on the right. although it doesn't look like that, but the sink's right next to it. You know, see it in the middle, on the bottom left, it's in the middle, and then the wall ovens are on the other side, because you don't need to be looking at your turkey as much, or you don't need to look at your steam oven as much. Same thing here is that you've got the cooktop next to the sink, and then the wall ovens and refrigeration are outside, are not as central, right? But if we're talking about centralized, we're talking about the stovetop or the range. Wall oven, you don't. Now, for secondary appliances, say like speed, for people putting in speed, steam, microwave drawers, it really depends on how much of that you use. Like, I don't use a microwave very much, and it's not close to the stovetop or where I am in the kitchen because I never really use it. But if I did, you may want to think of putting it, centralizing it. And that's totally how you make a kitchen personal to you. Now, refrigeration, I mean, it's not mission critical to be in your refrigerator. So it can be anywhere in the kitchen. But if you need something close, you may want to think of putting in drawers somewhere. You can put cabinets or stainless steel. I have a set of drawers for my daughter's Poppy soda pop in fruit, in the vain hopes that she'll actually eat a piece. So that's how you plan your kitchen. Really, it's sink, stove with the hood over it, and then refrigeration, and then you consider secondary based on how you use it. All right. Best luxury brands. A lot of you had choices, so I'm going to go over this briefly, and then I'm going to answer a lot of questions. All right. This is probably what I consider to be the best appliance, one of the best appliances you can buy. This is a La Cornue, meaning it's totally customizable from the stovetop to the color. You can customize the color. Even in the double oven, you can get a gas and electric. Gas is better for some moisture heat. Electric's better for dryer. So electric's better for baking. Gas is better for roasting. And you can get both in a La Cornue, unlike any other range, right? I think Subzero Wolf is, you've got great options here. These guys do the basics very well, meaning, you get hot burners, not as much in all gas as you do in dual fuel. You have infrared grill, infrared griddle. They have the Wolf Gourmet, which you just put in the food how you want to cook. It gives you time, temperature, rack position. I think Subzero refrigeration in terms of keeping food fresher longer. They have the air scrubber. They got that vacuum seal so air doesn't go in. They've got magnetic crisper bins so air doesn't go into there. I think this is probably the best, one of the best refrigerators, certainly on the premium side you can buy. But again, they don't do certain things like other companies do. There's no steam assist in their wall ovens. You can buy their steam ovens, but they don't have steam assist. They don't have basic other features like, say, induction or sous vide in their pro ranges like other brands do. But for the basics of cooking, this is certainly a good line to look at, which brings us to Gaggenau. Gaggenau gives you incredible amounts of modes, a really different appearance, but it's got 17 different cooking modes in 34 different coffees in their coffee system. I didn't know there were 17 modes to cook in, but this is the only one where you can control the steam to the percentage. So if you really know how to cook different types of items, this is a good line for you to look at. But the controls you have to learn, unlike say a Wolf and the next line Miele, which figure everything for you. You have to figure it out in your Gaggenau. The controls aren't as intuitive. Which brings us to Miele, which I think has probably some of the best wall ovens. Again, they add steam assist. Remember, in an electric oven, it's a drier heat, so adding moisture is a good idea for certainly roasts. But you bake bread. Baking bread is moisture is essential, and you got 17 different. You've got 17 different breads. You just hit a button and it figures it out for you. Same as the Wolf Gourmet, very intuitive. They make the best dishwashers in the world. Them and Bosch, and their compact laundry is probably the most sophisticated appliances we sell in a good way. Look at Blue Star. You're looking at high output, really high output and incredible customization with 1,000 colors. Again, it's not very nuanced. You don't have steam, you don't have speed, but this is a chef's kitchen. I love their refrigerators that fits chef's pans in all sizes, but they only go up to 36 inches. Thermo is very interested in their pro ranges. They got the Star burner. It's easy to clean. They add a steam. They had steam ovens on their 48 and 60-inch sizes. The problem with Thermador is their wall ovens are only single convection. They do have the side controls, but it's not intuitive like a Wolf or a Miele. So, and then you get SKS, which is really interesting because it gives you pretty much everything. You know, you get sous vide, induction, and 23,000 BTUs on their pro ranges. I really, if you haven't heard of this line, it's something that you should consider, because I think it'll be, you know, one of the top three in the next 5 to 10 years. A lot of technology, not as expensive as some of the other ones, and a lot of very usable things you can do with this line. So, breaking it down, what I just said, let's hire the right people and make good decisions as quickly as we can, and then we can lay out for your lifestyle however you want it to be. Take vending seriously. Always start with your sink, and look at reviews for everything, really, because there is a lot of, if you look at these pictures, there's a lot of bad out there, and you don't want to be part of that. So with that in mind, I will send it back to you, Fran, and thank you. Our, you know, we give away pretty much everything. We have appliance buyer's guides. I think they're like 80 pages now. And then if you want to book a showroom here in the store, if you're New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, you can do that. Our next webinar is for all you Massachusetts people, how to survive a tax holiday. And that's about it. Thank you for attending.
Awesome. All right. A lot of really great information there. Let's hop right into the questions, since we, like you said, we got a lot of questions here today. So first one says, this is from Alan, contractor versus certified installers. Some certified installers in the DC MD are horrible.
Yes, so true. Same up here. Really, the best way to figure out is just by reading what's happened to other people. That's going to give you the best indication of how you're going to be treated. With that in mind, not every reviewer is sane, not every review should be taken seriously. But certainly, if you get 100 or more reviews and they all say something similar, that's when you do it. So really vet by reading reviews is what I would say.
All right. Sorry, I had a little technical difficulty there. I think we're back up now. All right. Next question. This one is from Kara. Is anyone going to ever make a French style range with induction top and pyrolytic true self-cleaning oven in a true 36-inch width? Basically, could Miele or Wolf marry La Cornue and have a baby?
I was thinking of Cornue, but that's not self-cleaning.
No, but the Wolf 36-inch induction is.
Yeah, but that's not. She wants a French style range.
Yeah, oh, gotcha.
French style would be colored in a traditional format. None of the Italian brands are.
No, not really. Most of those European French style Aga ranges, yeah, they're not really going to have that true kind of self-clean.
Yeah, I mean, I think Viking had that Heritage series, but that's not self-cleaning either.
Right.
Yeah, you're gonna have to wait for the marriage, I think. Maybe
you'll get the invite.
There could be something out there, but nothing's familiar there.
All right, from Anne. How difficult is it to move the kitchen sink from where it is now?
Oof. Yeah, not easy. Because where you're going to put it, you need a base cabinet, you need to move the plumbing lines. You know, nothing's that hard if you want to spend enough money doing it. But I wouldn't be so quick to. Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of expense. If there's not difficulty, there's expense.
Yeah, and like you said, that's why it's so critical to choose the sink and make sure you're really paying attention, and that's not an afterthought. Because we always say here too, I'm like, at the end of the day, you could probably replace a lot of these things. A couple of years you hate it. The sink, that's going to be really hard to replace. So
there's an audience chat, a cooktop and an island. You can do that. You just need to put a hood over it. And I'm not a big fan of that because it changes the whole lighting aspect of it as well. But you can do that. There's there's a lot of very nice hoods that you can do that with. And you can also do a wood hood as well. And then just put in the guts there. Good.
All right. So next question here. This one is from Antoinette. Condo kitchen update that is 20 years old. How much do I need to do?
How much do you want to do? I mean, really, it's funny. I feel really, these webinars all go back to the same thing as what do you want to do? And really, the best advice is don't follow what everybody else does. I mean, if you look at all these pictures, even the ones that are likable, most of everything I just showed you was deeply flawed. So really, what do you want to do? Why do you want to do it? Get a stock of, if you had to change it, what do you want to change it to? What would you use? What wouldn't you use? Start from there, because the whole renovation process is miserable. So if you want a less miserable process, pick the right people. But first, you have a design in your head of what you want to do.
All right, let's see. From Joanne, L-shaped kitchen with fridge 13 feet from the kitchen sink at the window. Should I add bar sink to my island, 2 cooks, or does a beautiful island without sink/appliances trump having a second kitchen?
This is the same. This is my same answer. It really depends. I really like, and maybe I didn't do as good a job in this webinar as I probably should have, of saying secondary stuff is up to you. Like, I like having, I would like for 2 cooks, depending on how they cook. I'd love to have 2 sinks. I'd like to have like a base refrigerator. I'd love to have certain things, but it really all depends on how you 2 cook. You take stock of that and then build it out. I don't think it's a big deal to have a fridge a ways away, but if you're finding you need to get certain things, I'd put a set of drawers in closer. Again, you can do anything you want to do, but have an idea of how you use it, where the problems are, and then design around that.
Let's see, from Anastasia, what's your best advice for placement and use of a Blue Star salamander?
Ooh, the salamander. Salamander's that infrared, right?
Yeah, and it's got the broil and kind of that commercial style broiler.
That's a good question. I never liked where we put it in the store. Remember where we put it? We put it over the range. That's where they put it.
Yeah.
But that's going to take the place of a burner. So where would you put that?
Yeah, you definitely want to make, and under the hood like that for the venting makes a lot of sense, because those can definitely add a lot of heat, smoke, odor for sure. So that's the big thing, is being able to vent it. And if it's not there, it's going to be hard to vent, I think.
Yeah, that's where it is in restaurants. That's how they finish their creme brulees. It's got to be vented somewhat. So it's got to be near the range or on top of, kind of like, that's where we installed it, is range, then the hood.
Yeah, mounted kind of like right below the hood there.
If you want to do another hood somewhere, and that's, it's probably not the best idea aesthetically.
Bonnie asks, are self-cleaning ovens too hard on appliances?
Then, you see a lot of like some of those fast self-cleans where they use the steam now. I think those are better. These are 900-degree heat. I wouldn't use them all the time, but my mom never had a problem self-cleaning it as much as she did.
Yeah. Like we always say, Steve, it's like, you don't want to do it the day of or day before a major event or holiday or something like that, just in case anything does go wrong. Because they can, it's a lot of heat that's definitely being putting a lot of pressure on the oven, the electronics, the elements, that sort of thing, for sure. Okay, let's go to Daniel. He asked, should we add a water line behind the oven for steam in case we later decide to replace a non-steam oven with one that has steam?
I have a non-plumbed Wolf steam oven, and I've never run out of steam. I've never run out of steam. I've cooked up to, I think, 15 minutes. I've never run out of. I've never run out of water.
Yeah.
Ever. So I don't think it's a big deal.
No, I don't think it's necessary. There's so many options for non-plumb, but with the containers, yeah, for sure. Zachary, he asks, is there an upper limit on kitchen size beyond which the space becomes impractical? Or are there some size guidelines for key components that, if followed, allow for any size to be functional? Thank you.
You know, it's funny. We sold a kitchen to a person that owned a bunch of restaurants. They put two 48-inch Blue Star ranges. They put a wok burner in. I mean, it was endless. And I didn't, excuse me, I wasn't the salesperson on the job, but it was endless. And the explanation I got is they both were gourmet cooks. They both liked to cook. They both liked to entertain to cook. And so it made sense for them to have two different huge kitchens in one huge space. And really, I would say to Zachary, like the other questions, is really, how are you using it? Yeah, it's impractical if you don't use it. And I always say, like, steam ovens are great, but they're totally impractical if you don't want to learn how to use one. So I don't have a real stock answer for that one.
Yeah.
The answer is yes and no, depending on how you use it.
Okay, let's go to Frank. He asks, my cabinets are 2001 traditional and cream colored. Thinking of painting versus replacing as they are in mint condition. Thoughts, colors?
Yes, up to you. You know, that's why so many people buy white. You know, get them in white. You know, I mean, and then you'll last another 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go to Cindy. She says, how often should appliances be updated?
When they break.
Yeah.
And again, you know, I'm being facetious here because we have so many to go through, but really it you know, if they're failing or if there's feature, I mean, how many people, I mean, you upgrade your car, you know, because the lease expires. Well, the lease doesn't expire in appliances. A upgrade if you feel there's a feature you need, which there probably isn't. But you know, typically I say replace the appliance when repairing is more than, say, 30% of the total cost of a new one.
Okay, from Michael, he asks, is it worthwhile to redesign your kitchen on a fairly new home but poorly designed?
How bad does it upset you?
Yeah, I will say we've definitely seen this from time to time where people, you know, have bought a home directly from a builder and then, you know, just aren't happy with how that was initially designed. And we've seen kind of a redo, but yeah, that can be a tough pill to swallow. I think sometimes when you just moved into a place and now doing a full renovation.
See if you can learn to like it. It's cheaper.
Yeah, no question. All right, from Walter. I'm looking for an under cabinet range hood, and I found out I needed a makeup air duct installed. Where should I run this thing so it causes minimal intrusion? The area under my toe kick is taken up, I assume, by my heating duct. So that is, I assume, not available.
Makeup air is typically better if it's done in new construction. It goes through your HVAC system. There are some smart vents, right? I mean, typically the statutes say through your HVAC are 10 feet away from your range on the other side, right? Now, the Broan smart dampers, you could install one of those and be makeup compatible, I believe. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
As long as it's drawing that air from the outside into the system. Yep.
Yeah. So that's why I look at the Broan smart dampers. That would be the cheapest way to go. But you can do any number of things. Like we look at and take a look at our ventilation webinar, because I go in detail. At the end, we asked a question. There was a question about this, and there's like any number of ways you can do this. You know.
Okay. From CJ, do any of Wolf's built-in ovens have an air fry capability like Cafe does, which works well?
No, they don't work well. Neither works well. Cafe works well? No. No. And I can tell you why it doesn't. Because Cafe is very similar to Profile. My next door neighbor's got a Profile induction range, and she tries to make potato chips. And you get a whole constellation of chips. Like it's from blackened to raw, because it can't work. Air fries don't work. I'm sorry, CJ.
Yeah, especially in the big capacity like that. They're really designed for that smaller, compact capacity.
You want an air fry, get it on your stove to get the small appliance, because the air movement is best on a smaller cavity. On these bigger cavities, you can get the movement. You're better off broiling.
From Stephen B. When suggesting proper ventilation, are makeup air systems the standard for all hoods over 600 CFMs?
Over 400 CFM. Yeah. Over 400.
Yeah.
Yes. 400 CFM.
Yeah.
Not 6.
From Eileen, is it possible to obtain more detailed info on operations of Beko appliances? I have two new dishwashers in a range. Products and customer service for these products is not nearly as user-friendly as appliances such as Subzero, which I also purchased from you.
Yeah, Beko was great during the pandemic, and then they went super high-end, and then Bosch came in, and I love their dishwashers. Why don't you, since we sold them to you, why don't you just contact us directly? We'll I'll be happy to give you whatever you need. We do the service work on Beko, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Jennifer asked, does it matter if the appliances are all different brands when thinking of resale?
No. I think really if you're talking about resale, you want some of the better brands, but it really doesn't matter as long as it looks good together. The problem with going with different brands is you get different handles. They look a little different that way. But, you look at the best kitchens, Subzero, Wolf, Miele, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think it matters as much. I think that the way you also circumvent that if you're buying new is you get pocket handles or the no handle kind of adaptations, which I think, match everything.
Yeah, and you're seeing those more and more from a lot of different brands now, and dishwashers, refrigeration, so you can really kind of mix and match. And I'd say, honestly, at this point, probably most kitchens are definitely mix match, just like you said, so definitely not necessary. Davidia, best 48-inch professional range with steam feature and infrared griddle and broiler. Does one exist?
No. If you want steam assist, Miele will have it with a speed oven on the side, but that's not cooking in steam, right?
Yeah, Thermador in the 48 has a smaller steam oven on the side there.
But they don't have infrared. They only have
because in the dual fuel, it's the electric cal rod element. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't. What I would do is get a range and then get a separate steam oven. I think you get more functionality anyway that way.
Yeah.
Get a Miele or Wolf, because they do all the thinking for you. I think Thermador, they've got the bigger size as well, the 30-inch, which is the same size, but it's not as intuitive. And you want something to be somewhat intuitive, or you won't use it. Or maybe I'm talking about myself.
No, especially when it's I think something new, like steam for most people, it definitely helps to kind of become used to using it and learning how to use it for sure. Terry asks, I want to remove a regular fridge and install a Subzero. What do I need to know?
Okay. Well, you need to get rid of your top cabinet. You need to install electrical on the top right-hand side. The plumbing's different. The cabinetry, you would have to, again, it's a matter of basically making sure you've got something that's 84 inches, and probably what you have now is 72? Is that the standard now?
Yeah, up to 72, yeah.
Yeah, that top cabinet has to go. There's some minor electrical, some plumbing work to it. Yeah, can be done.
Yep. Cindy says, I have a very small kitchen putting in a Wolf slide-in range. For the microwave, I'm debating between Wolf's drawer microwave or 30-inch M series professional speed oven. Thoughts?
Well, speed is convection. That'll give you a second oven. Interestingly enough, neither one of these are made by Wolf. But, the drawer's nice. I've got one that I really don't use, but it was convenient when I did. So because it comes out at you, but it doesn't have the functionality of a speed oven. That'll give you second oven capability.
Yeah, absolutely. And Wolf is going through a little bit of a change on some of those speed ovens, or really all their speed ovens as well. So they're transitioning to new models. So you'll start to see over the next couple months, hopefully, kind of the new models that they've upgraded that digital display. So it is a little bit more intuitive too with their speed ovens. From Steve M. Is it better to have a standalone ice maker unit or one inside the freezer?
Oh, it's better to have the standalone, depending. Standalone will give you 50 pounds. Come on now, right?
Yeah, way more ice.
Yeah, way more ice. It'll give you clear ice if that's what you want, right? You just have to clean it separately. A couple times a year, you got to pull it out, clean it. The ones inside the freezers have become a little more interesting, though, right? Where you can get, LG's got their
craft ice,
which are balls.
Yeah.
Thermo's got diamond ice. But it's far more interesting to have a standalone ice maker, and it'll even work if you get a pump and you clean it. If you don't get a pump and you don't clean it, the thing will go within 18 months.
Yeah, a lot of maintenance if you don't take care of it. From Mike S. Looking for a quiet dishwasher. What are some of the best from KitchenAid?
The 200 series is 39 decibels. That's quiet. Their M series, which is 404, 604, 704, and 804, all 44 decibels, which meets the minimum quiet standard. So pretty much all of them, except for the bottom one, will meet that standard.
Kathleen asks, what options are available to replace microwaves?
That depends on the hole that you made. But again, you can replace a microwave with a microwave. You can replace it with a steam oven, or you can replace it with a speed oven, or you can replace it with a coffee system.
Yeah.
What else? What else we got?
It really depends on the functionality that you're looking for. Are you still looking for some microwave functionality? Then definitely I'd say a speed oven, like we said before, is kind of I'd say the best to replace for sure, because it kind of gives you a little bit of everything. But yeah, it really depends kind of what you're looking for there. Steve D. A lot of Steve's asking questions today. Steve D. Will a Miele steam oven suffice as the only oven in my kitchen? When will HydroClean come to the US?
HydroClean. Got me on that one. Yeah. I wouldn't even know there was a HydroClean or even what it is. I should probably read these questions before we but
I'm curious now, though.
HydroClean. Will a steam oven suffice? Yes, unless you're cooking something big. Turkey, no. Roast, no. Everything else, yes, and it'll cook better.
Yeah. As far as functionality, it can do everything a regular oven can, plus more. It's just like you said, the sizing is going to be a little smaller. Alex says, Subzero and Wolf don't seem to have made your most reliable list lately. Why is that, do you think, and should we be concerned?
Because it's unfair, deliberately. When you sell a lot of bigger stuff, there's like, if you're selling a 60-inch range, there's like 10 igniters, versus a 30-inch range that's got 4. None of the luxury brands do very well in the reliability risk, to be honest with you. Plus, there's a lot of, when someone buys an expensive appliance, there's more of a, when something little goes wrong, there's more of a, we got to send someone out there kind of thing. Even with, we have techs that try to work people through it, but it's hard to tell someone to spend the kind of money that, to try this, that, and the other thing. So it's a lot of customer education as well. I wouldn't be concerned. I think they do make the best stuff, and they're probably positioned the best because, they learned from the pandemic. They insourced a lot of their supply chain, and they're buying their steel from America. So is thermal more expensive than they are in fridges now?
In some cases they are. Not all of them, but yeah, like the 48. Yeah, in some cases they are.
Crazy.
Yeah. Michael S. asks, besides Thermador, which company is the best bang for your buck luxury package?
Well, it depends what you're looking for.
Yeah.
I really, I think the brand that's going to be really popular in the next 3 to 5 years is SKS.
Mhm.
Not because it gives you a lot for your money, because they're always innovating. They're always innovating. Those guys innovate much faster than everybody else. I think they're worth looking at. I think Monogram,
Yeah.
is
Paykel for something different too, I would say.
Yeah, I think Fisher Paykel's got some decent stuff that's fairly inexpensive. They got really nice columns. Their pro ranges, I don't necessarily understand how they do them, but if you're interested in burners with good output, they make a very good pro range. They make a very good 48-inch induction range too.
Okay, from Lori, when will new Wolf induction / convection range with knobs be available?
Soon.
Yeah, those are coming. Yeah, they're really available now to order, and they're just kind of getting those into inventory and starting to send out too. So those are kind of just about good to go. Anthony A, steamer or air fryer?
Steamer.
Yeah.
Air fry doesn't work.
Yeah, no question.
Steam does, though. Really, if you have a chance to buy a steam oven and you want to use it, it makes everything taste better.
Yeah.
Doesn't make
reheated foods, like anything. Tom A, what foods cook better in a steam oven, and how do the setting change from a regular oven?
You know, I've had one for a couple years now, and I couldn't possibly answer that question because everything's done automatically. I never really guess. With the Wolf, I actually changed my old Wolf oven and got a new one, and I just hit you can hit gourmet. It'll give you any number of foods. You don't have to just the old ones reheating crusts were hard. The new ones, they've got reheat crispy, which would be more convection, less steam, right? So it's so intuitive that really any food's going to cook better in a steam oven.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, like, one of the things we always say too is, like, when you're cooking in an electric oven, that can dry out like your meats, your proteins, tenderloins, some things like that. So I think, like, one of the things that you'll definitely notice in a steam oven when you're cooking something like that, it just injects more moisture and it doesn't dry out your food. So even something like that, like a tenderloin, a turkey, something like that will fit in the steam oven, absolutely, I would say is going to be a steam oven.
Boy, we got a lot of questions on the right-hand side too.
Yeah, so
we'll get to some of those in a second.
Yeah, so we'll do this one, then we'll go to some more live ones. This one's from Regina that says 36 or 48-inch freestanding stove. How can I make sure I pick the right one?
Okay. Well, difference between a 36 and a 48 is you get 2 ovens instead of 1, right? You have the ability to put more stuff on the cooktop. We can get double griddle, French top, induction in some, right? It really, the answer is really depends on how you cook more than anything. And then you figure out the brand by how you use it. Yeah, unfortunately, it goes back down as I don't really have any stock answers for any question. It really depends on how you use your stove as to what you actually buy, size and brand.
Yeah. And then sometimes I'd say too, it's like, the give and take of it. Like, how big is the kitchen? Does a 48 take away from something else maybe, or something else to consider if space really isn't an option? If you do a 36 and maybe a separate single wall oven or something like that, and you could do all gas range and an electric wall oven. So it really depends kind of if you're losing by going with the 48, if you have the space, there's definitely some good options to consider there. All right, let's go to some of these live questions. So this one's from Nancy, and it says, with many brands looking to outsource their customer service, how do you justify spending more for a luxury brand? The thought is that the appliance will last longer, but it seems at times that newer appliances do not have the same longevity.
This is a great question. And, 40 years ago when I started here, we didn't have a service department, and I learned really hard that people really need service. And that's where this industry falls down. And if there's one other thing that I can suggest is, why you go pick brands, that this becomes part of your selection process of who can fix my X in my area the quickest. Because all of them are focused on features and BTU outputs and steam and speed and this and that, but not a lot of them have built out adequate service in every area, and that is incumbent on you. And that's true of any brand, either commodity, affordable luxury. It's this industry's, black hole. I mean, you buy a luxury car, you go and get an oil change at the shop you bought it from, and they give you a loaner, and God forbid you make a mistake, they make a mistake. There's no accountability in our industry, so it's really incumbent upon you as the buyer to figure all that out, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, from DA. It says, is there a minimum size you recommend for the kitchen sink?
Well, it depends on the pans you use, but the minimum I would say is 24-inch. That's the minimum base cabinet. You go smaller than that, you're talking about a bar sink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I would say, again, depending on the size you have, but a sink is definitely not somewhere where you want to go small unless you really have to. You think about how many times you're in and out of your sink on a daily basis. So, it's probably, you're using your sink probably more than anything else, your sink and your faucet. And definitely all of us can agree. I think having more room when you're in there cleaning, moving stuff around, definitely better to have a little bit more room if you can swing it. Obviously, if you can't, then, like you said, Steve, that 24, kind of that minimum size for sure. All right. From Ann, gas or induction cooktop? Already have gas stove to replace.
Okay. Before I answer this question, because this is a blog post we recently did, this is not easy to do. All right. You're talking about going from 12 amps to 40 amps, 30 to 40 amps, which means you may not have you may have to, you have to certainly rewire. You need a new socket. You may need to have, more electrical. It may have to go all the way back to the panel. So it's about $3,500 to do that. Okay. That said, I like induction better. I mean, you're looking at with the provision, especially on a cooktop, because the cooktop's are reliable, range is less so, but a cooktop is faster, it's better to simmer, it's easier to clean, requires less venting. Your kid won't burn his or her hand on it because it's a lot more efficient. That said, if you live in Vermont, New Hampshire, or a place where you get a lot of outages, you can't light it. So that's something to consider as well.
All right, let's go to Tess on this one. It says, how difficult would it be for me as a homeowner to project manage a gut kitchen reno? I'll have a trusted GC friend on call and will use his contractors and have relative flexibility with my job to work from home. Am I nuts?
Depends on how organized you are. You're not nuts. You're saving yourself, 17 to 22% typically on the total cost. You are nuts if you think that you're just going to make snap decisions. If you're organized, you can do it. And if you have the time, you can do it. If you're not, then it's going to be a real problem. Real problem. Yeah. A good question. It's a good challenge for you.
From Todd, would you recommend a speed oven or steam oven? I use the microwave often.
Well, I don't use the microwave at all because I use the steam oven. And the reason is I'm willing to sacrifice 10 minutes of my time for something that tastes better. However, I'm in the minority. If you're using a lot of the microwave, the speed oven may be better for you.
Okay, from Richard, do's and don'ts for designing cabinets around a built-in refrigerator.
I wasn't aware there were do's and don'ts.
Yeah, the other thing, and a lot of times you'll be working
integrated, or are we looking at integrated versus counter depth?
Yeah. So if you're doing like a built-in fridge, and a lot of times the one thing that we always say, like one for sure, you want to check like your clearances, the door swing dimensions, and how far out that door goes side to side. You definitely want to look at kind of like how close to a wall is it again, kind of with those door swings. And there's definitely, there's design guides, there's a specs. You want to make sure that the people have all those. And there's certain little points, like if you're doing an integrated where you're fully flush, know that when you open that refrigerator door, a lot of times too, it's like you can see the inside of the cabinet. So if you're doing like an integrated kind of built-in refrigerator like that, a lot of times you want to make sure that the inside, that they finish that return on the inside of the cabinet as well, because it is visible. So there's definitely some little things that you want to make sure that you're checking and doing properly, but the right contractor, designer for your specific situation should definitely be able to help you kind of through that, and salesperson for sure too.
I feel like I've delivered a lot of bad news during this webinar. I'm going to deliver some good news. It's really hard to make a mistake in terms of appliances because they fit cabinets. Right. That's why you always want to pick appliances before you pick. That's why your cabinet designer won't do anything until you pick appliances. Mm-hmm. But refrigerators typically fit, holes that are 30, 33, 36, 42, and 48, because that's what a cabinet is. Dishwashers, there's no 27-inch dishwasher, 24 to fit a 24-inch base cabinet, right? All these brands have the same exact specs for appliances. I mean, overalls, the cutouts are a little bit different. But it's really hard to make a mistake in that regard of like saying, my refrigerator is too wide for my cabinet. It just doesn't happen.
Let's go to Denise here. She says, what is the difference between a steam oven versus a steam assist oven? Can you reheat in either versus needing to use a microwave?
Steam oven means you're gonna cook the whole process using steam. Right? A steam assist is going to give you bursts of steam. So it's more of a finisher, more of a it won't leave it won't give you the same texture as a steam oven, right? And that's the way I own a steam oven. I'm having a hard time describing it, but a steam oven will give you a softer, kind of more vibrant texture because you're not baking out moisture per se. Steam oven is more of a better finishing item, especially for breads and that sort of thing.
Yeah, the steam assist will just kind of inject a little bit of moisture kind of into whatever you're cooking, or sometimes like you said, like you're making a casserole, lasagna, something like that. It'll add a little crisp to the top of that, depending on what you're doing and what you're trying to make there. But yeah, definitely not a full steam oven. And a full steam oven, you can definitely reheat, versus a steam assist is not going to necessarily be the greatest for it's going to be more similar to just reheating in a regular oven for sure. Let's see. I think we got time for one more here. So this one from Ryan. I have 10-foot ceilings in my kitchen. How tall should the cabinets go? The additional 2 feet of cabinets above the standard 8 cost almost as much as the entire 8-foot high cabinets. Is it worth the investment to get a true built-in look? Yeah, so basically saying, like, is it worth getting this cabinets to go all the way up to the top of the ceiling?
Trying to think of mine now that you mention it. And I think mine do in certain areas. I didn't even think of it. Maybe that's why it was so expensive. Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of a judgment style budget call, to be honest.
Yeah, they can definitely look, but it's, it's one of those things. It's, how important is it to you? How much would you notice it? Is it worth spending the extra money on this versus maybe something else you want to kind of splurge on, whether it's, a higher end appliance or something else, different cabinet features or things like that. It really depends. And, I think like with any of these, Steve, it's like give and take. It's like if you have that budget, you're kind of, if you want to splurge here, you take away from here. You want to go bigger in your range, you might have to take away from a cabinet, so there's definitely give and take, I think, with all of
what, if it makes you feel any better, Ryan, what you might want to do is not do it and then install lighting on top of the cabinet so it lights the ceiling better, so you get a nice effect that way. You spend next to nothing on the lighting anymore. Mm-hmm. and at least that way you can illuminate the ceiling properly and really have a nice lighting design. So
yeah, there you go. Always back to lighting.
it's amazing to me. I don't even sell it. We don't even sell it. It's amazing that people have just gone away from something that we used to take for granted.
Yes,
unbelievable, but it is what it is. All right. Few things that we forgot to mention. You know, if you subscribed, we're going to send you all the videos. What else we send? We send the videos. We send the PowerPoint slides. What else? We answer questions. What else do we do? It's Pat's not here, so it's hard to know.
Yeah, Pat's normally in charge here, but,
but we give you all the stuff.
Going to yell at us about something we forgot.
We give you all the stuff we promised you. How's
Yeah,
that?
there we go.
All right, so in 1 week, for all you Massachusetts or anybody that's got tax-free, we've got some really good stuff because you know, the tax weekend's changed so much. It's going to be good next week. I'm looking forward to it. So, thank you, everybody. Thank you. You filled in admirably for Pat.
Thank you.
All right. See you later.